Erin,
Yes.
how did you want to begin our session? Did you want me to kind of start this thing, or did you want to go through the syllabus, or how would you want to? How do you want to go about it?
So, I mean, I think as everyone can tell, Michael and I were hoping this was rather informal, and maybe even just starting with some idea of what questions you guys would have, and that maybe could then guide specific aspects of what we're going to talk about.
Because I could start just with a quick overview of the syllabus. Like, and if I could be a co-host, I could share screen even. It was interesting, Erin, even just trying to find the forms, like how you find the forms. And of course, our great website is like a Kafka novel, and it's kind of difficult to work your way through it. So I found them. But anyway, so I could even share screen in some of those things.
I allowed share screen for anybody.
Oh, great. Okay. We're starting in we're gonna wait for another 6 minutes. Should we wait till or no, it's 5:40. I think we're supposed to start.
Yeah, I think we can start. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll start by just when I went through the syllabus again, it's useful, I think, if I share screen, and I'll do that.
So just for everyone in here, Michael and Erin, you guys are going to touch on research project, and then we'll hear about internship from Daniel.
Right, correct, yeah.
Okay. Just so everyone in the thing knows, we're going to listen to research project, and then we'll hear all about internship.
So can everyone see my screen okay?
Yeah.
All right, so great. So yeah, so I don't know if everyone knows, so I'm the director of the school, Michael, and Erin is the associate director for graduate studies. So I'm not quite sure why we got tasked with this to go through the fourth year projects, but we're happy to go through it. It's good because Erin represents the biophysical sciences and I represent more the social sciences. So we can talk a little bit about some of the fourth year projects and what they might look like. But there's a couple bits of information that I think is really important to understand when we think about this and why we're introducing the fourth year project. First off, this used to be a 3-credit course. And what we found was that basically the amount of work that students do for a fourth year project over the course of the years is more than 3 credits. So starting actually in the spring, summer session, it will be a 6-credit course. So you'll get 6 credits for it. So that's an important thing. So you'll see here, just this past year, this is the most recent version of it. It was a 3-credit course. The course facilitator had been Carla Gertz. And so next year, I think it's going to be Dr. Eileen O'Connor who's going to be the facilitator for this course, but it's not quite set in stone yet, but we're thinking that's going to be the case. But what's really important, first, I just thought we'd go through the course description. And so obviously when you're in human kinetics, you're basically going to decide if you're going to do an internship or the fourth year research project. And when I was going through the website, I found it interesting that you're going to see the internships links. You're going to see how to do the internships, which Danielle is going to be speaking about in a few minutes. But it's actually quite difficult to find where you do the fourth year project, and there's not a lot of advertisement for it. And I'm not trying to advocate to say do the fourth year project, or I'm not saying do the internship or whatever. It's just a matter, I want to make sure that students are aware of what the fourth year project is about. And I do encourage you to consider both options, but so Erin and I will be talking about the fourth year project. So the first part of this really is that this is a research project, and it's in our broad field of human kinetics, which again ranges from physical activity to, could be doing cell research, it could be doing diet stuff, it could be a whole bunch of different things. And that's why today it's so great. You're going to hear so many different aspects of what human kinetics is about from the research side of things, which I think, which for me personally, why our field is so exciting, because there's so many great things going on. And some of us actually work multidisciplinary, so that even though I'm more sociocultural, my projects oftentimes draw on the biophysical sciences, and I work with colleagues on that side as well. So, so there's really lots of options for what you can get involved in. So the general objectives of the course. So this is, again, really important to think about, because you're really not going to do anything until you get some sort of partnership with a professor. So your first job really is to start thinking about professor's research that you would want to be involved in, right? So that's kind of your first step. So this idea of, being able to design a research project, it's going to be an independent research project that you're going to lead, but at the same time, it's got to be somehow connected to either just simply a professor who can supervise. So I've had some projects where students have done complete independent projects that is not really connected with my research, but I'm in a position to supervise. I think more typically students get involved in actual professors' research. I think that's a bit more the typical way that students have done it. So as you hear about, if someone's talking about, I don't know, working in, well, for me, I work with Indigenous communities in Northern Canada. If you're interested in those types of questions, well then, I would maybe think about sending an email or, preferably after class meeting with the professor in person, but, with COVID, it's obviously a bit different. You need to connect to that professor. And I can tell you right now, I know some people sometimes are maybe nervous to reach out to professors. Professors actually love hearing from students. We don't always like to hear it when we hear complaints about why, your course sucks or something like that. But we do like to hear, from students saying, hey, I'm really interested in this topic. And would you be willing to chat with me about opportunities? And believe it or not, professors love talking about their research. So really feel comfortable to reach out to professors. And I encourage you to do that, and multiple, not just, it could be just one, but, think about a few different types of things that you might be involved in. Partly professors have certain capacity issues that if they have, already quite a few students, it might not be that feasible to engage with a professor or do that type of work. So, reach out to a few and maybe learn more about what they're doing. So
can I just interject there, Michael?
Yeah.
Sorry for a minute. And I would encourage you actually to start reaching out now. So I know Michael as well, but we're ones that typically have students doing fourth year projects with us. And I would usually know by the end of March. Like I usually only bring on a maximum of 2 students. And usually those are already students who have contacted me, again, either after class or through email, and that we've talked about. And so that we've come to this agreement, just that professors don't have kind of this maximum compared to the internship, there's not unlimited space. And so again, as Michael said, you need to have someone who's willing to supervise this. And actually, in terms of signing up for this course, you don't sign up on UO Zone. It's actually a form that you have to send in to the academic office. And as part of that form, you need a professor to sign it. And so the registration is a bit different. Again, it has to be this agreement between you and the professor. And so I actually already received an email this week, actually not from a human kinetics, but we often have students in the biological sciences reach out as well because they do a fairly large research project, some of the kind of pre-med, asking about opportunities as well. So again, if you're thinking about this, I would definitely encourage you to start contacting professors.
Yeah, for sure. And that's really important. And yeah, Erin, please jump in too as I'm going through this. So thanks for doing that. So the forms themselves, so this is what I was trying to tell you. I'll send this via chat, this link here. This is I actually just by navigating my way through the website, I actually found this particular page. It's really useful because it has a whole bunch of different forms. So the undergraduate forms, but the registration forms, this is where you can actually click on the form and it sends you to the actual page. And I'll show you a little bit later what the form is. It's actually quite easy, but you would do that with the professor. So it's not just on you, because I'll explain to you how the form is filled out. But this is, like I said, I'll send you this by the chat. You can see where this page is. It's useful for a lot of different reasons, where you can see these links to other useful forms as well. But that's, it's important that you actually know where to find it, because again, students have asked me, where's the form? And I say, I don't know, you find it. So kind of, it's a little bit tricky on our website, which we're still working on, but yeah. So, so once you've met with your professor and the professor has kind of agreed to be your supervisor, it's still up to the student to a certain extent to really define that project with the professor. So you're going to identify like a research problem or write a research question, just like it almost as you would for a research paper in an undergraduate class. But of course, now it's going to be a larger project. There's going to be research involved, which involves looking at whether it's, databases or using the library, doing secondary research. This issue of ethics is really important here. And just because if you have a project that's already under the ethics approval of a professor, well, then this ethics process wouldn't have to be completed. But again, the supervisor will explain to you. But if you are doing independent research and your own data collection, well, then you will have to fill in an ethics application form, which is a learning experience in itself, but it's something that you'd have to start on very early with the professor. The collection of data is also an important aspect. So unlike just doing a literature review, that's not what the fourth year project's about. It's supposed to get you with hands-on experience about actually collecting data. And again, you're going to hear from a whole bunch of different professors and what data collection actually means. It could be in a lab, it could be doing field work, it could be meaning lots of different things. You're supposed to ultimately be involved or being the lead in terms of analyzing the data that you've collected. And then you're going to write a final research paper, which again, in terms of the discipline, it's really the idea, hopefully, or not, it's not an objective, but it'd be nice to get a publication. So you would almost want to think about your paper as something that you'd submit for a publishable article in the specific discipline that you're working in. And then finally, once that paper is presented, you then, there's an actual conference that's the facilitator ultimately hosts, and you will do a presentation as whether it's an oral presentation or a poster presentation. So that's kind of the main objectives. So again, the roles and expectations. So you'll see basically the supervisor, like the professor, they're going to oversee the project. They're going to help with the ethics approval. Basically guide you throughout that process. Then you have the course facilitator. So Dr. Gertz was the facilitator in the previous point. For the most part, her role was really to facilitate the deadlines, to make sure students were aware of what deadlines, what need to be handed in at one time. And we are talking about, again, how that's going to look for next year as a 6-credit course. There might be some in-person components, whether again, virtual in-person, but there might be some lecture type of sessions, maybe talking about, data collection, talking about use of libraries, ethics, whatever it might be. So that's still a little bit up in the air. Up until now, for the most part, the facilitator was primarily really just a go-between to help organize, really facilitate the course for you. The student, which again is what you're going to be involved in, and obviously your role as a student. Just to be clear, and I'll get to the evaluation in a second, but basically when you get to the final stage of the evaluation, you will need to find with your supervisor an external evaluator. And that person, the external evaluator, is going to be another professor in our school who will ultimately evaluate your final research project at the conference stage, not the paper, but your presentation, your oral presentation, or the poster presentation. So I just wanted to make sure again that, so the course evaluation, so really this is what you'd be responsible for. And I'll stop here in terms of this presentation just to show you, but basically you're going to have a final paper. So as I was mentioning, this journal article type of paper that you're going to write is worth 50%, and that's going to be created by your supervisor. You have a competency as a researcher, how you're, an overall kind of assessment of your role is in doing the research and collecting the data. That's another 20% evaluation that the professor evaluates. The facilitator at this point in time is really just marked is just a 5% component. So it's really what you've been doing. Like, have you met all the deadlines? Are you, present and doing all the things that whatever the facilitators asked of you, that's a 5% grade. And then that 25% of the presentation, this is again where the external evaluator comes in. So the external evaluator will be evaluating your oral presentation or again, a poster presentation. So that's for the most part what the outline is and what your course would look like. Now, again, this is starting, if you're doing it in the fall, it'll start in the fall, and the final kind of conference is in April. So you'll have various deadlines, and it's really important that you're communicating with your supervisor, that they're aware of the deadlines that the facilitator is giving you, and that you're both on the same page in terms of meeting those deadlines, right? So it's, even though it's your role, it's your, you know, you're an independent researcher within this, that you really need to work closely with the supervisor so that they're aware of what's going on. Erin, I don't know if you had anything to add at this point or regarding any of these aspects.
No, I think you've done the highlights, but yeah, so just, I mean, as you can see, most of your mark comes from that supervisor, and you can almost think of this as a bit of almost like a graduate school opportunity, like you're working in some kind of, maybe not a physical lab, but with that kind of close relationship with the supervisor directing this project. And so if you think of benefits of doing the research project, it's good practice to see if you maybe want to pursue research kind of in a graduate student role. So many of our students who do the fourth year project will stay on and do their master's with us as well. It does give you that opportunity to gain research skills and experience that perhaps you haven't had as much throughout your undergraduate degree. It brings you in direct contact with the professor. So you think about looking for an academic reference letter or other things. These are a professor that can then speak to these abilities. And so we kind of mentioned reaching out to professors. Another way to get to know about research that's going on is if you're in classes with correctors or teaching assistants, to actually talk to them about what they're doing. Because as Michael said, there's some opportunities maybe to do independent research. Most of the students I have coming in, I actually pair with a graduate student that's working on a project. And so they'll help them in kind of data collection, analyzing the data. Like they'll usually take a small side project of it, but it's usually part of a larger project. Again, it typically depends on what the student wants to do and when they want to start. And I think there was maybe a comment about that in the chat, but we can have maybe more specific questions too.
Wait, could you repeat what you just said about having a student work with one of your graduate students? Would that be for this research project course?
Yes, yeah. So the research project, I mean, as we can see from the syllabus here, there's no set thing that you have to do. It's not like you have to collect 10 participants of data. Our disciplines are so diverse within HK that we'll have students, I think of myself in a motor control lab where maybe similar to more biomechanics, you know, we have students coming in, we're putting markers on them, we're tracking motion. Whereas that would be very different probably than what Michael would have students doing, and he can probably speak to that, or others where they maybe are doing some interviews. And so in general, as I was saying, what I would do is we have certain projects going on in the lab already. I would talk to a student that wants to come in about, these are the different areas that we have that we're studying. Is there a project that interests you? And if so, you know, this project is still ongoing, you could become involved and this could be your role. This could be kind of the question that you could look to answer here. I have had students do kind of an independent project from start to finish and been quite successful. It was actually a student who had done a Europe with me. And so I'm not sure if anyone here has had the opportunity to do Europe. That's also a good introduction to the research process as well. Now that the course is turning to 6 credits, it does give one more time to actually put into this research project. When it was 3 credits, it was pretty hard to kind of do a complete project in that timeline.
Okay, and maybe I'll just show you quickly what the form is, and then I'll stop talking. We just maybe have open to questions and whatever. But this is when I was telling you about the form you're going to do with the supervisor. This is just an example of the most recent one that I just filled in. So a student, Derek, you probably know Derek, so it's not confidential or whatever. So I'm sure he's not going to mind that I've used his form here. But really, it's a very simple form. So you know, this is kind of what the general topic is, but then you have at this section here, which again, it's really important to determine with your supervisor what that role is going to be. So as Erin was saying, so in her lab, she's going to be able to explain to you, well, these are the opportunities, and then we have to kind of write up a brief explanation of what it's going to be, because ultimately this form has to be approved at the undergraduate office. So Alexandra, Dr. Ariano is the person who would ultimately sign off on this. So it's just, again, something you would want to do with the supervisor to make sure that the description makes sense. Here again is really important is this ethics aspect. Do you need ethics? So for Derek, he's working with a project specifically with me, so he doesn't need to do the ethics application. And then here is what I usually do wrong, because I'm not a quantitative person and I add this up wrong every single time. But basically, it has to add up to 135 hours of work. Now, again, this is going to be different under the 6th credit, I think. Or is it 130? I can't remember, Erin, if Alex had said that it's the same amount of time now or something, or it's going to be more.
Well, I think that's still under consideration. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, but basically, you're going to explain, you know, you kind of just break down what the hours are going to be. So I kind of make this stuff up because I never really know how long things are going to take. I mean, for me, it's more about, I know the student's going to be very busy. You know, you think about, well, there's going to be definitely doing secondary research. You're going to have a literature review that you're going to have to do. There's going to be lab meetings with the group. You have, for me, in this particular case, it was supposed to be meetings with local hunters and the communities I work in. Then you have time for writing the paper and preparing for the presentation. So it's just, that's pretty well it. That's the form. And then we sign off on it, and then it has to get approved. So I'll stop sharing my screen. And yeah, we can just open it up to questions, I guess, at this time. So yeah. Oh, while we're doing this, I'm going to put in the chat the 2 links, or the link to this, what I was showing you before. Okay. I'm going to go to everybody here, I think. Yeah, so that's the link to where you'll actually see the form that you'll be able to click on. I don't see a lot of questions.
I was gonna say I don't think we have any questions flowing in right now. If anyone thinks of any, I am pretty closely monitoring the chat box. So if you think of any like after the fact, send Jamil or myself an email and we can answer your questions or pass them along to someone who knows the answer.
I have a question. It's about like the course sequence with the internship or the research project. So all of us were in, I think, well, almost all of us, I think we're like the students admitted before 2018. And I'm just like, if you look at the 4th year like box, for the first semester, we have 4 classes plus the research project or the internship. And then on the 2nd semester, we have 5 classes plus the research project or the internship. And I was just wondering, like, is that like a mistake, or are we supposed to have like 6 things in the 2nd semester?
I think that's the wrong one, because since yours is becoming 6 credits, you should have 4 classes internship or research, 4 classes internship or research, which is why it became 6 credits. So like my year, 4th year right now, is the last one. I'm pretty sure to have the 4 classes research or intern and then 5 classes research or intern.
Okay, so where would we find the admitted before 2018? The new
I'll look into it while the internship session is going on, and I'll put it in the chat box.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah.
No worries.
But yes, if you were admitted before, so 2018, I believe, is the first year.
In 2018, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so those who, yes, have started in 2018, it should now be 6 credits. There probably will be a few students this year, next year, who are kind of in their 5th year finishing up, that would still be the 3 credits.
Okay.
So those would be before 2018.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question as well about the research or internship. I was admitted after 2018 because of a program change. and some of the credits transferred over. So I ended up finishing basically all of my required credits. And next year, all I will have left is internship or research first and second semester. And I was just wondering if it's okay if I'm going to be part-time and I will only have one class per semester, which is research or internship, to do both of them first semester at once.
To do both, sorry, to do the internship or the research project in one semester?
So say, for example, I do choose internship instead of research project. Can I do the 6 credit of internship first semester?
Yeah,
No.
we'll talk about that in my presentation. Yes, you can.
Oh, you can.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say it's probably unclear with the research project. We would have to check into that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Someone, is it possible to do the internship and also volunteer in research? So for Megan, so the question, I think you mean, are you asking if you can do both, or if you want to do the internship, is it possible still to volunteer with research?
Yeah, I just mean like I'm interested in these like these research things, but I want to do the internship. So is it possible just to like help out and be a part of it, but not actually do the research class?
Yeah, for sure. There's so many, I mean, there's so many volunteer opportunities that I think that's almost more typical, I find, than fourth year projects. I have way more volunteers than people who sign up for the fourth year project. So we're always looking for, I mean, depending on the time of year, obviously because of COVID, a lot of people are kind of shut down right now. So it's a little bit different this year, but typically I'm always looking for volunteers for projects I'm running, and I'm not too sure if Aaron usually takes on volunteers as well, but it's quite yeah, and the year up and the research project was third and fourth year. So anyway, yeah, so definitely reach out if you're finding interest and seeing how you can get experience. It's great.
And other volunteers, so I mean, there's volunteering time in the lab, but also if you just want to get an idea of some of the research projects, is to volunteer to be a participant. Our grad students are constantly looking for undergrad, well, for anyone to be a participant. And so usually it's an hour or two. Some of the projects are a bit more involved, but it's a good idea to actually see what testing looks like. Again, grad students are kind of the best, I feel, to kind of tell you about the actual research, because they're the ones usually with their hands in the research and doing it. I don't know about Michael, but I feel I just kind of oversee things. I don't really do as much research myself anymore. So that's kind of a quick way to get some idea of what's actually going on. In terms of the year up, so you can do a year up. It's geared towards second and third year students. It's not, as far as I know, it's not open to fourth year students. So the question is, can you do Europe and the research project both third and fourth year? So you could do your Europe in the third year and a research project in your fourth year. You pretty much, the way the program's designed and the prerequisites for the research project, it can only be done in your fourth year. So I think you have to have so many credits before you can take it. You can definitely do it with the professor that you've done a Europe with.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering because I'm thinking of doing a Europe for my third year, and then for my fourth year, I was just wondering if I would be able to do Europe and a research project, but you just mentioned that Europe is just for second and third year. But we can do the research project with the same professor as Europe, correct?
Yes. So, I mean, the Europe program is really, it's kind of a small introduction to get students aware of the research that's going on. And it's a great opportunity for those of you who might be entering or third year in the fall. The applications usually due, I think, the end of September or October. And again, it's pairing you with a professor. You do get a bit of money for doing it as well. And also there's a presentation at the end. And so all these presentations, whether it's through Europe or your fourth year research project, you can be putting on your resume, CV. These are all things that, you know, you can show this accomplishment of what you've done.
Great, thank you.
Is that pretty well timed, I think? We want to leave enough time for Daniel, so yeah. And if people need, if you have questions, again, specific to something, that you can email me too, or email Alexandra as well, or Aaron. So yeah.
Great, I think I'll get started. The one thing I would add is students are often interested in the internship because they want to gain that practical experience before they graduate from our program. And a research project is still a practical experience. In fact, it might even give you hands-on experience with specialized equipment, with a type of participant that we can't really replicate in an internship program. So whether it's on the social science side or even the biophysical side, I'm thinking of those motor control, exercise physiology, biomech labs. We can't really give you an internship experience that replicates or even gives you the hands-on experience with that type of specialized equipment. So you should think, while you're making your choice, consider the research project as a practical experience as well. I do have a presentation. Anna, will I be able to share my screen?
Yes.
All right. We'll get started. I think this presentation will answer a lot of questions for a lot of students. So thank you everyone for joining us on this Friday evening. My presentation will be pretty much only in English, but all of my slides will be bilingual. I encourage you all as well to familiarize yourself with the screen capture short key on your computer, or just have your phone ready to take a few pictures of some of these screens. I'll let you know for the really important screens, and I'll add a few important links in the chat once I'm done. Here are my coordinates. The best way to reach out to me is definitely by email if you do have any questions. I haven't been in my office in over a year, and I don't expect to go in anytime soon. So please send me an email, and we'll do our meetings virtually this summer. The first thing that I do want to define is the concept of work integrated learning. So this is what your internship is going to be. What it's not going to be is a volunteer experience. So you're not just going to freely give away some of your time to an organization without receiving anything much in return. It's also not a work experience. So you're not going to be paid for this, unfortunately, but you're also not going to be an employee of the organization. So there are different types of work integrated learning opportunities. You know about this internship. You might have heard of clinical placements, co-ops, practicums. Plenty of other APA courses offer community service learning opportunities. The goal here is different from work or volunteer experience. The goal here is really is focused on the student's learning experience. So first and foremost, as we structure this hands-on experience, we want to ensure that you're provided with task responsibilities that provide you with an optimal learning experience. So I am conducting this presentation under the assumption that most students who are listening here began their studies in the fall of 2018 or later. So this is our first cohort who will be able to complete APA 4211. So this is our new course code. This is a 6th credit internship as well. So this is the first time that we're offering this. Now, because we're in the transition process, you're going to see a bunch of course codes on UL Zone. Okay, you're going to still see APA 4111, our 6th credit internships that students who began their studies before the fall of 2018 might have studied part-time. This is still the course that students will have to take. And again, anyone who began their studies in the fall of 2018 will need to take APA 4211. Now, I learned last week actually from our academic office that normally courses have 4 digits, and those are for courses that are offered as single semester. So courses that are offered over 2 semesters actually have 5 digits. So I'm thinking about 95% of you who want to complete an internship, like our standard internship, will need to register to APA 42111 in the fall semester and APA 42112 in the winter semester. Okay. Now, you are still going to see the standard 4211 offered in the summer, offered in the fall, in the winter. This is our condensed internship course. It is a block. You are required departmental consent if you want to register for that course. So I did see a question in a chat earlier about how do I complete a summer internship. So I can speak to that right now. We've offered summer internships for the first time, I believe last year. It went pretty well. We've never done it before. We've never offered a 6-credit internship before. So it is still technically an option, and condensing your internship into either the fall or the winter semester will still be an option as well. It's normally done, so this is, first of all, is a condensed schedule. So you're completing all the hours and all of the assignments into a single semester. So it's a lot of work. It might be more expensive to do in the summer as well, because from my understanding, if you're registered to 4 other courses, that your price kind of caps at 4 courses. So if you're registered to a 5th or a 6th course, kind of paying almost the same price as you would for 4 courses, but you're paying per course if you're completing 1, 2, or 3 courses, if that makes sense. So if the internship is the only thing that you want to complete in the summer, you're going to have to pay for that. So you're going to be charged for that course. And if you plan on completing 4 courses again in the fall and winter, you're not going to save any money there. You're most likely going to be charged the same thing. So that's one important factor to consider. There will be more opportunities in the fall. Most of our partners are more familiar with our standard fall and winter internship. This is offered really for students under special circumstances who might have completed studies part-time and only have this course left and want to complete it into a single semester, or might be going on exchange in the winter. They want to get this course completed because they won't be able to complete any hours in the winter. Okay. But if you are interested in completing a summer internship, we need to get the ball rolling very quickly. I'm expecting most of the students who will complete a summer internship are the students who weren't able to complete APA 4111, weren't able to secure an internship due to the pandemic this past year. So I have about 5 to 10 students there. I haven't really met anyone who wants to complete 4211 in the summer yet, but if you're interested, we'll need to get the ball rolling fairly quickly. To complete, so that course is locked. The condensed courses are locked. To register you into that course, you need a secured internship location, and you need to have completed all of our internship requirements before you're registered into that course. Okay. The standard 2-semester course, you can register for that, and I'll talk about it. You can register for that in June. The deadline is June 20th. So we're going to work with you throughout the summer to make sure that you have all of your internship requirements in order. So we want kind of a final class list on June 20th to ensure that all of the follow-ups are done in a timely manner. If you're not sure where you're standing here, you can find this information. You can find your program requirements on UOZone. All right. So it'll be very important. I can't see your program requirements. I can't tell you which course you need to complete. And it's important to register for the right one. So the rest of my presentation will really focus on APA 42111, this new 6-credit internship course. So students are now required to complete 120 hours. We're going to have new assignments, additional class content, new supervisor evaluations that are going to be competency-based. So depending on your domain, your internship domain that you're going to choose, you will need to demonstrate specific competencies that you will be evaluated by your internship supervisor. And this will lead to a more standardized role for our students in each of the domains. So there are specific competencies that we want students to be able to demonstrate in each of these domains. And you're receiving 6 credits, so that's great. This is also important to consider. The primary objective of our course is to provide students with an opportunity to put into practice the knowledge that they've gained through their undergraduate studies. That's how we structure our internship. I need to consider the past experience that you've acquired, but also the courses that you've completed. And we'll dive into that in a bit more detail in a few minutes. So we want to put you in a position where you're going to be able to apply the concepts and theories learned in your undergraduate degree so far, and the content that you're going to learn in your fourth year as well in a professional work environment. So that's our primary objective. Students often choose the internship for our secondary objectives. So they want to gain work experience in their field. They want to start networking to potentially even find a job once they graduate. That's all well and good. We're going to try to check all of these boxes by the end of your experience. But my primary objective, again, is to put you in a position to apply the concepts and theories that you've learned so far, because that's what you're going to be reflecting on throughout all of your assignments throughout the year. Prerequisites are fairly simple. To register for the internship course, you really only need 81 university credits. You can do so on Eurozone again. Now, depending on where you want to go, there will be additional requirements. So again, we're going to look for specific courses. Some partners want to see specific work experience on a student's resume, and there will be Office of Risk Management requirements that you'll need to complete depending on where you want to go. So this is the first kind of screen grab or picture that you can take. These are our modified internship requirements that students will need to take next year. So over the last year, everyone, regardless of where they had to go, had to complete all of these clinical internship requirements. I've been working very closely with the Office of Risk Management to revise these requirements. So depending on the type of internship you want to complete, here are the requirements that you'll need to submit to our Office of Risk Management by, I don't have the deadline, it's early August at the latest, but that information, we'll go find it on their webpage. It might be like mid-July. So for hospital settings, we're gonna go through these. So for hospital settings, you need a vulnerable sector police record check, a CPR for healthcare provider or basic life support certification, and first aid. So this is a level above level C. You need a full record of immunization, nonviolence crisis intervention training that's going to be offered by our Office of Risk Management this year, N95 or another type of mask fit testing, and you're going to need your flu shot in the fall as well. For private clinics, think of kinesiology or rehab. You'll still need a vulnerable sector police record check, a full record of immunization, your CPR certification, and your flu shot. If you're coaching physical education into schools, anything related to health promotion, rec and leisure, you're still gonna need your police record check, your CPR, and your flu shot. You won't need your record of immunization. And you only need a level 2 record check if you're gonna go into a sport management setting. You're not gonna be working with vulnerable population. So nothing else is required for that.
Daniel, if you don't mind, just an interruption here. For those who are looking at CPR and stuff, it's better to do it sooner than later. I'm just speaking on behalf of the university. I'm the one who teaches all the courses through sport services at the university. So if you enroll in a course, or if there's enough people who want it and want to try to get it done before kind of the summer months happen, if you send an email to like the president email, I'll put it in the chat. I can get a course set up for human kinetics students that gets you the standard first aid and the HCP through the university. So then you don't have to find it on your own and I'd be the instructor. So we can get that kind of ball rolling, and then maybe we could also set up a course in the summer for those who would be interested. So please reach out to me. I'll put my email in there, and then I can work with the group on getting things set up, because I know it can be a little bit hard to find courses, especially in the summer. So we can make it work through the university.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. I know the Office of Risk Management wants the certification to be valid throughout the year. So they'll only accept something that was completed after, I believe, March 30th or 31st or something like that. So as long as it's offered in April or later, we should be fine. So 2 things to consider here. Students might not be able to complete an internship if certain requirements cannot be met. So if you have a positive vulnerable sector check, or if you've never had any immunizations done in your life, then that's going to limit our options here. But we'll still work with you to try to find something. And again, pursuing an internship experience where little requirements are needed will limit your opportunities if ever that initial opportunity falls through. So if you're planning on something in coaching or going into a school and you're not getting your full record of immunization in order and decide to go somewhere else afterwards, that jump is rare, but maybe sport management to coaching or something like that at the last minute, that's going to be a barrier. So if you're pursuing one domain, just know that you're limiting yourself to that domain for the rest of the summer. Okay. Two links here. So the Office of Risk Management has a lot of information on their webpage that they've confirmed they will be updating it very shortly. So we still have our old course code here, but they also have a lot of information on standard first aid and CPR courses. And they have a lot of info on how to get your police record check depending on where you live. So there's a lot of very important information here. So I'll include this link in the chat box. I've also included the email address of the nurse who oversees our program. So you're going to need to send everything to her directly over the summer, and that can best be done by email. I would encourage you to just send her an email at some point over the next month or two, just to introduce yourself and let her know that you're going to be completing an internship. I'll ask you all, I'll have instructions to register to my mailing list. As soon as you share your email address with me, I'll send it over to her to let her know that you intend on completing an internship so that you're part of her mailing list throughout the summer as well. So I think this is a good time to talk about the impact that the pandemic has had on our internship experience and what I'm expecting over the next couple months. So it was a challenge, but students did complete their internships this year. Some were completed virtually. Most clinical settings still accepted students. They were essential services. So the nature of the experience was different. We didn't have a lot of athletic therapists. We didn't have a lot of opportunities in hospital settings as well, but we made it work. At this point, there's still many uncertainties as far as what the summer will look like. The vaccine news is good. But there's still a lot of uncertainty. So hopefully things will look a lot better by this fall. I am expecting more opportunities this fall than we had last year, but still some opportunities might have a virtual component to them. And you'll notice that the COVID vaccine wasn't in our list of internship requirements, but it might be added onto it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was required by a lot of different organizations. So if you do have a chance to get your COVID vaccine this summer, I'd encourage you to do so. It will most likely open doors for your internship experience as well. So here are our parameters. So it's 120 hours, normally completed from September to March. We ask that you complete a minimum of 7 weeks in the fall, 7 weeks in the winter, and at least 50 hours in each of the semesters. So you can do a 70-50 split if you want to, but we want it to be spread out evenly throughout the year. We still have parameters that reflect or that recognize the students' full-time status as students. So most of you will be completing 4 other courses on top of your internship experience, and we need to set parameters accordingly. This is how the course will be evaluated. So you're going to have a preliminary internship report, an internship analysis report. In journal entries, I've increased the percentage here for journal entries. So our standards for journal entries will increase. The internship analysis report will be bigger. So there were 2 reports in the past. We've combined those together to have a bigger report that's worth 25% of the mark. And we'll have new supervisor evaluations as well. So you'll be receiving an alphanumerical grade for this course. This isn't pass or fail. This is what our schedule will look like. So once you register for the course, you will see that a 3-hour block of time, most likely on Friday evenings, will be blocked in your schedule throughout both semesters. But we're really just going to be in class 2 to 3 times in the fall, 2 to 3 times in the winter, and we'll schedule individual meetings over the summer and at least 1 in the fall as well. So the rest of that time will be yours. So we won't be in class for 3 hours throughout the year. here's how I like to define our areas of interest. Kinesiology is quite broad. So anything related to health professionals, kinesiologists, physios, chiros would fall under kinesiology or rehabilitation. High performance training facilities in the area, we have very good partners there. Ergonomics is a specialty within kinesiology. Health promotion can be quite broad as well. You can work as an assistant coach for a club team. You can work in a sport management setting or teaching physical education in high school or elementary school. I would say that the only one that's not on here may be sports psychology. So I would still qualify that as a coaching opportunity. Regarding sports psych, I would, we allow students to work with mental performance consultants, but we don't want students to conduct any individual consultations. We leave that to our placements at the graduate level for that professional program, but you can still conduct group workshops on various concepts. So I do, as far as our community partners, I do encourage you to go on our School of Human Kinetics webpage under student internships. If you scroll down, you'll see a lot of the parameters that were discussed earlier, but you'll also see a full list of our 2020, 2021 community partners. So this is where students completed their internships this year. The list is normally bigger than this, but with the pandemic, we had less opportunities. But this gives you an idea of where you could potentially go, who we could potentially contact. We have other contacts as well in the community, but it's a good starting point as well. Okay, you can have a look at that and my contact info. My email is there as well. If you're not sure as far as what type of internship you want to do, you can think of what type of contact hours you'd like to gain. So what type of population would you want to work with? Do you want to work with vulnerable individuals, more of a general population, active and healthy individuals that might be focused more on the performance side of things? Maybe there's a specific age group that could help us narrow down our options. So how to find the right organization. I am here to facilitate the process. It is a first come, first serve basis. I will start to meet students in early May, and I'll be meeting with students throughout the summer to try to have everyone secure an internship location by the fall. I don't recommend completing your internship where you're already working. We'll consider it if you're proposing a completely different task and responsibilities, so a completely different role than what you're currently doing. But I would encourage you to try to find something that's not where you're already working, to diversify your experience on your resume. As far as how to confirm an internship location, again, you can work with some of our partners that we call coordinator vetted opportunities. So partners who accepted students last year will accept students again this year. Or every year I have students that come to me with a proposal. So they'll have, they might have been speaking with an individual, and we'll approve it that way. We'll work with them to try to find them something that meets our parameters. Regardless of if you are introduced to one of our partners or if you find your own location, there should be an interview. So you should have, whether it's an in-person or virtual sit down, they should be asking you questions as far as why you want to complete an internship with them. You should have the opportunity to ask questions as well, so that we can, everybody's will be on the same page, so we can manage expectations here. And then afterwards, it is the final decision of the organization. So your designated or the potential supervisor will make the final say if they want to accept you in their organization or not. And afterwards, I'll one last time, we'll establish this list of task responsibilities, which I will approve. Regardless of the domain that you want to complete your internship in, these are just a few skills that will be absolutely essential to your success in this course. So professionalism at all time. It sounds easy enough to be professional, but some settings are more informal. Think of coaching or gym settings, high performance training facilities, even physical education in schools. It can be easy to have more of a laid back mentality, but think that you are representing School of Human Kinetics, the University of Ottawa. You're representing our internship program. So it is important to be professional at all times, and that'll be expected of you. It's also important to demonstrate initiative throughout your internship experience. It's important to know that our community partners aren't paid to accept students. So they're doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. So they have full-time jobs and they're supervising students on top of that. So it's up to the student to demonstrate a certain level of initiative, to ask questions, and to volunteer to maybe do a little bit more to try to get the maximum learning experience possible. This leads into a willingness to learn and contribute. Your interpersonal skills, your ability to relate with the employees and the clients of the organization will be absolutely essential. And verbal and written communication skills leads into professionalism as well. So you can do screenshots of these slides as well. This is all on our webpage. So this is just the type of profile that we look for depending on the domain that you want to pursue. So if you're interested in physical education or coaching, if you're interested in physical education, I'd highly recommend that you complete, well, hopefully you've completed intervention theories. Hopefully you've completed intervention and observation 3111, and you might even be able to complete it in your 4th year. And obviously, if you've completed coaching courses, that would be fantastic in a coaching setting. Your elementary schools, high schools, whether they're public or private, makes no difference. You can work with a variety of community sport teams. In sport management, we only have a few sport management courses, so it'd be great if you've completed those. Think of administration, management, sporting events, sport marketing. And physical activity and health, physical activity and community health, sociology, exercise and disease prevention would be very key courses if you're interested in sport or health promotion. Here we can, the type of organization that we can work with is quite broad. So university sports services, organizing committees for a variety of championship or events that might be happening in the community, national sport federations, community or pro sport teams. And in the health side of things, we can work in hospital programs, foundations, public health. And kin and rehab, this is a popular field. This will be really dependent on the nature of your task responsibilities. So there are sub-domains here. But if you're interested in rehab, especially if you're interested in athletic therapy, prevention and care of athletic injuries will need to have been completed ahead of time. Physios and especially athletic therapists will expect that this course has been completed so that they can work off of the knowledge that you've learned in this course. But neural control of human movement would be important if you want to work with individuals who have a neurological condition, and also exercise and disease prevention. Anything related to kinesiology, it'll be important to have just fitness training principles completed. And these are just a few other examples of other courses. We don't expect you to have completed all of them, but we want you to be in a position to have completed some, if not most, by the end of your studies, by the end of your 4th year.
Just so you know, you have about 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll rush through and I'll add the links afterwards. But this is just a few examples of locations for kinesiology and rehab. So considerations when you're choosing your internship, can obviously consider the domains that we've tried to define for you here today. Consider the value of the experience. You might be thinking of working with a really big organization, but if you don't do anything substantial for them, if you don't outline any real concrete tasks or responsibilities, it doesn't really do much on a resume. So maybe a smaller organization that can give you more of a hands-on role would be more worthwhile. Consider the location. Transportation time does not count towards your internship hours. And I'll try to gauge your expectations as far as what type of availability the organization might require, different types of culture, different types of supervision, what type of expectations they might have of you, and that'll help narrow down your choices as well. Before choosing your 1st year courses, try to consider your schedule so that we can leave blocks of time open for your internship. Consider the course content. At this point, you shouldn't be completing courses just because your friends are registered for that course. Try to complete courses that are relevant to the career that you want to pursue in the near future. And consider prerequisites not only for this internship, but for graduate level studies, for different types of certifications and professional designations that will be available to you once you graduate. So this is my form. I'll add this to the chat. So I'd like for everyone to click on this link. If you're interested in completing an internship, this is, you'll register, you'll give me your information, the course, your course profile, the areas that you're interested in, and please submit this form and I'll have your email address and that'll be my mailing list for the summer. So I'll add this to the link. I would encourage you to do this even this evening if you can. That way you'll ensure that all of the important information that I'll be sending out, that you will be receiving it. I also encourage you to visit our Career Development Center. I'll add this info to the chat box as well. They have really good, if you go under job search tools, they have very good resources for how to write a cover letter and a resume. They even have templates per faculty that I encourage you to try to replicate as best you can. Your resume and your cover letter is your first impression that you're going to make with our partners, and it can go a long way to securing an internship experience. So please sign up to our mailing list. I'll send out an invite to schedule an individual meeting in early May. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can send me an email. Please revise your cover letter and resume. Register to both APA 42111 in the fall and 42112 in the winter. And get started on your internship requirements as soon as possible, please. That's pretty much it.
Thanks, everybody.
Do we have time for a few questions?
Yeah, someone the first research presentation starts at 6:45. So as long as whoever's presenting at 6:45, Julie, then we'll be good. But there's a question that I'm not 100% sure the answer to, and that's, is there anywhere that they can find out more information about organizations who we've previously taken on beforehand? Like, is there a list of them on the HK website or something?
The list of our partners for the internship?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're all on our webpage. So so this is the list of the internships, locations, they're all on our webpage. So School of Human Kinetics, student internships, scroll down, and they're by domain. This is where our students completed an internship last year. So in 2020, 2021. Doesn't mean these organizations will accept a student this year. And again, we have more leads than this, but this is a good starting point.
So just to confirm, we don't need to book anything until you send us a link to start booking our appointments. All we really need to do is get started on the requirements.
Yeah. And if you're considering an internship, like a standard internship format that begins in the fall, I'll reach out to you if you register to my mailing list. I'll reach out in early May.
And for the vaccines, because we can get our yellow paper there, just online and stuff, but do we know what vaccines we need, or is it just whatever we have right now, we can just submit that?
Yeah, so let me share my screen again with you. So if you go under, it is a full record of immunization.
Okay.
So if you go on the Office of Risk Management's webpage, under our internship course, student placement requirement records, you can print this page. Everything's on here. It's a two-step tuberculosis test. The first step would be to send that yellow booklet by email. Just scan it, send it by email to our nurse at the Office of Risk Management. She'll reply back letting you know what's missing.
Thank you.
One other question someone asked just quickly before we finish up here is, how would internship requirements like CPR and vaccinations translate if they have them in the States? I can answer the first aid one. It doesn't translate. the American Red Cross and like the Life Saving Society and Canadian Red Cross does not translate usually. So that one, but I wasn't sure about vaccines.
The best way to do it is send what you have to our nurse in the Office of Risk Management, and so she'll let you know if it's equivalent or not.
I just had a quick clarification question too, if that's okay. So the email that we should be sending the information to in records of vaccination, is that your email or a different one?
It is a different one, so I'll copy paste it. I'll copy paste it in the chat as well. I showed it. Well, let me go grab it and I'll copy paste it.
Thank you.
Maybe I can speak for just a minute on the Office of Risk Management. If you've spoken to any students last year, they will most likely tell you to be politically correct, let's just say the very difficult experience that they've had working with the Office of Risk Management over the summer. I can confirm that the issues that we had last year have been resolved. There is a new director who's on board who's excellent. And there's a specific nurse that's been assigned to our school. She replies back very quickly. So I'm expecting a very smooth process this summer.
All right, so I must say we're gonna have to wrap this one up. If anyone has any questions, make sure you send an email to whoever in this presentation, Michael, Daniel, Aaron, or myself or Jamil, and we can pass you along. Thank you for those who have attended.